Your success is the problem. And I know how crazy that sounds, but hear me out, because this might be the thing that's been keeping you stuck for years. Years. Hi, everyone. My name is Uche Maple, and welcome to the Women Who Lead Network, where we talk about everything entrepreneurship and leadership and living a purpose-driven life. And what I want to talk about today is how your success is the problem. Just hear me out. Okay. So let's just use this particular case of an individual who wants to compete in as a bodybuilder or compete in anything. And I'm just going to use this for example. But what I'm going to do is walk you through the psychological process of what happens when we as high achieving women, because yes, I am one, and I constantly still work on that. What happens when we want to do something external to what we have been groomed and trained to do, and the resistance that we run into. So I was coaching a woman a few months ago. Let's just call her Michelle for right now, okay? So Michelle is 46, doing great in the career. She's vice president at a Fortune 500 company, six-figure earner, corner office, very, very, very well respected. You know, the kind of woman that other women look at like, yo, she got that. She's it. Um, she made it. I can't wait to be there, right? But, one day Michelle came to me and said, I feel paralyzed. I really want to compete in this bodybuilding competition. I've been looking at it for years. I've started training, but something is holding me back. She says, my coach says I'm ready, but I just can't seem to register. What is going on with me? And, I mentioned to her, I was like, no, nothing is going on with you, but your success is your success is the problem. She looked at me crazy, and I was like, hold up, let me just explain for a second, okay? So here's what happens when you are a high achiever like Michelle, right? Like you. You've been trained your entire life to wait for external validation before you move. So think about this. Let's just walk through the process for a second, okay? You didn't just decide to become a manager, right? You waited to be promoted, okay? You didn't just claim a leadership role. You waited for someone to tap you and give you the title, okay? Is it sounding more? You didn't declare yourself an expert. You got the degree, the credentials, the certification. Heck, you still may not be calling yourself an expert. Okay, but that's another video. So every time every step of your success has required someone else's approval. I know this, I can validate this because this is me the whole way. And that system has worked for you for that system, okay? You played the game, you followed the rules, you waited your turn, and you won. Congratulations. But here's the problem. Dreams don't work that way. No one is going to promote you into your dream. No one is going to give you a certificate that says you're ready to compete now. There's no boss, no manager who's going to tap you on the shoulder and say, okay, it's your turn to step up on that stage and show what you've been working on, right? You have to give yourself permission. And that's the one thing your success never taught you how to do it. So, I'm talking to Michelle, and she says, but my coach says I'm ready. Isn't that validation? No. Your coach can confirm your body is ready, right? But only you can give yourself permission to be seen. And that's what you are afraid of. And that's when it hit her. Because high achievers, one thing about high achievers is that we don't make visible moves without approval. It's just not in the wiring, especially when you've been working for X amount of years. I'm going to even say, even working 2.5 years, you are internally getting trained for approval because of things that you do in the workplace, right? But here's where it gets worse. Yeah, it gets worse. Not only are you waiting for approval, Your success has actually made you more afraid to move. I'm going to repeat that again. Not only are you waiting for approval, your success has actually made you more afraid to move. So, talking to, looking at how Michelle is operating, Michelle is like, listen, when I was in my 20s, I took a lot of risks all the time. I moved across country for a job. I switched industries. I wore whatever I wanted. I wasn't afraid. And pretty much that is true because you had nothing to lose when you're starting off. Risk is easy. You're building, you're climbing, you have energy and time and nothing to protect. But now you got your reputation. You got to maintain, right? You have an image people expect. You have people watching you. You have a professional identity that you have built. You got your brand. So when you think about stepping on stage in like the bikini competition in front of hundreds of people, right? Putting your body on display, showing up in a way that's completely vulnerable and completely opposite what you've been doing, your brain doesn't calculate the potential gain. It calculates what you can lose. How many of us can recognize that? That's with anything, right? And because you work so hard to build that polished professional image, the fear of looking foolish feels rational. And what happens is in our mind, when we are doing something that is completely different than what we professionally do, what happens is we start thinking, what happens if I step out on this stage and I'm the worst one there? What if people from my company sees those photos? What if they don't take me seriously anymore? I have this title. I have this title. And my title, these people that I am at, we don't do bodybuilding competitions, right? And one thing we have to realize is that this is a trap that our mind creates a false narrative because your success has given you so much image to protect that you're afraid to be seen differently. You've become risk adverse. And for those of us who are in the field, when we talk about being risk adverse, we know how dangerous that can be. And risk adverse is the enemy of your dreams. The more successful you become externally, the harder it is to be bold visibly. But here's the deepest problem. And you're not going to see this because you're in it, but I'm going to point this out. You've mastered external achievement, but the boldness requires internal permission. And no one ever taught you how to give that to yourself. I'm going to say that again. You've mastered external achievement, but boldness requires internal permission. And nobody ever taught you how to give yourself that. And here's what I mean. Every accomplishment on your resume required external systems, right? You got the degree, someone gave you a diploma. You got promoted, someone approved it. You earned the title, someone signed off on it. You gained the respect, someone recognized it. You've been operating in external validation your entire career, but stepping into the dream that you desire, that's 100% internal. No one's going to hand you a certificate that says you're called to compete. Nobody's going to promote you onto that stage. Nobody's going to validate that your desire to do this is legitimate. You have to give yourself that permission. And that's a completely different muscle. So now you're asking yourself, well, Uche, how do I do that? How do I know that I'm not just being foolish? And here is what I will tell you if you're my client. The fact that you can't stop thinking about it is the confirmation. The fact that you have been training for a long time to compete in the bodybuilding competition is the validation. The fact that you feel it in your bones, in your soul, is the permission. You're waiting for someone to authorize what you've actually been authorized already to do. Does that make sense? Is that making sense? So, so the way that you can look at this is you can say to yourself, so my success, the thing that I'm most proud of is literally the thing keeping me from stepping on that stage. Yeah. Because, and here's what it is, our success has taught us to wait for approval, but when we are moving towards our dreams, it requires us to approve ourselves. So what does that mean? Your dream requires you to approve yourself. So here's what I would tell my client, and here's what I want you to hear. Your success isn't the enemy. Your success got you here, right? But the skills that got you here won't be the skills that get you into your next season. You have to learn a new skill, self-authorization. And that's exactly, and I'm going to put in a selfish plug, and that's exactly what we're going to be working on in my training that I have coming up October 28th. Go into the description. All the information is there. And what we're going to be talking about is 3 shifts that you can do to move into the next season being bold. How you recognize you is the permission you've been waiting for, and how to step into boldness without needing someone else's approval. So whether you are, called to compete on stage, called to make cakes, make cupcakes, bakery, teach, stepping into something new, or finally doing the thing that you've been avoiding for years, your success is not the problem. Your success is the foundation. Now let's build on that boldness. Okay? You got this. Thanks for watching, and thanks for supporting.